Hey guys, this is Simon from Fateless. We are 1 day away from the final Alpha 3, the community event. We've got tons to go over in this video actually, so I'm going to bookmark different elements down below. We're going to have a quick recap on some of the stats from Alpha 2. We're going to go into the key information you need to know for Alpha 3. We're then going to talk about the community event and the rewards up for grabs for everybody who's going to play. And then finally, we're going to talk about patch notes as well. So tons to go over, lock in, and let's go. So let's start then with a quick recap of Alpha 2. I just want to say, like, the game beyond Alpha is racing along. A lot of the feedback and the support we've had from people playing the different waves of Alphas has been captured, it's being actioned. We're changing the game based on you guys playing the game. So that's what we wanted. That's what the Alpha was really for. You know, if we go back to the original kind of like priorities of our Alpha, it's like, did we find the fun with the game? We're getting a big thumbs up from the community to say that we did. Is the game, like the core loop, engaging? And again, we're getting a big thumbs up to say it is. Bearing in mind, we're still in this kind of like encapsulated area of the game, the caverns. We're testing things like the cameras and we're making massive strides and improvements on this. We're testing our systems and obviously we're bug squashing and all that type of stuff. So all of that is basically improving the overall game when we actually launch. So let's talk about Alpha 2 quick. We had just over 18,000 people download the game. Of those, about 13,500 Scions played for 3 days or more. So we had sort of, a good retention of players from that sort of main group. Of those 13,679 Scions, we had over 282,000 hours played, which honestly, like, if you look at different alphas that release and, they're looking at metrics, these metrics are insane, which it just shows we've got this community of people that love this style of game. They're enjoying what we're doing. So it kind of backs up that thumbs up around, is the game fun to play? That's over 20 hours on average per player. We had just over 1,000 players, 1,138 Scions beat stage 120, the Golden Guardian. So just under 10% of the player base. We've had 630 Scions defeat Fafnir at stage 150. So just under 5% of those players. It was basically 55% of the Scions that beat the Golden Guardian went on to beat the game, in effect, beat Fafnir. We had tons of gold given out. Some of that was me, some of that was you. But yeah, what is this? What is this number even? Is that 210 billion? I don't know. Anyway, a silly amount of gold was shared around the player base. So we had, 4,700 clears of the Golden Guardian. So from that 1,100 odd players, some people were actually farming the Golden Guardian for heroes or for gold, which is cool. That's what it was meant for. The first player on record, now some of these records were wrong for Alpha 2. This will be fixed for Alpha 3. But Goku here was the first player on record to beat stage 120. Then we had exclusive Oh No My Rook, Zavarok, and Jester. They were our top 5 that were recorded. Again, that could be incorrect, but should be fine for the next wave. Stage 150, the final boss. So we had close to 10,000 events, which means clears of stage 150. So that's 630 players. A lot of those players cleared it again and again to try and get more legendary heroes, which is cool. Oh No My Rook was the first recorded to beat it. That was on the 14th of August. So it was so fast, honestly, from when we launched the alpha. And then we had Oh No My Rook was our world's first. Goku, PTW Alien, Daywing, 9, Homecakes, Fusion, Xavarok, Migantu, and Ent. They were our first 10 recorded winners for Alpha 2. So congrats if you're on that list. And if you weren't on that list, I know Ragewood was up there somewhere, but he wasn't recording properly on the leaderboards. And there's a bunch more as well. It's so awesome to see this many players engaged with the first 2 alphas. So yeah, let's dive into Alpha 3. Okay, let's talk logistics of Alpha 3. Some of this stuff's really important, actually, but probably quite dull. Watch it anyway. The Alpha's going to start at 3 p.m. UTC on Wednesday, the 3rd of September. It's going to run through to the Friday, the 12th of September, 3 p.m. UTC. Okay, so it's going to be an open Alpha event which means that you will still need to download the game. You will still need a code to play the game, but we're going to allow players to come in and try it, providing they've got those things. So if you wanted to share the launcher and a code with friends, we're absolutely fine for you guys to do that. We actually want to stress test the game as much as we can during this alpha. So there will be an email sent out today. The email will ask for you to whitelist if you have not whitelisted before for mobile. So if you're going to be an Android user, the link to play will actually be in the email we send out at 3 p.m. UTC tomorrow. If you are an iOS player and you complete the whitelist, you will get a separate email tomorrow from Test Flight, and that will be how you access the game. You do not need an email from Google Play ever at all if you're going to play on Android. If you're going to play on PC or Mac, you will need to delete any previous versions of Godforge because there was an error in the launcher which was causing your size of your game to bloat. I will show you how to do that at the end of this video because I need to do it myself. But other than that, you will download a fresh launcher and fresh download of the game through the email that comes out tomorrow at 3 p.m. UTC. Now, for Alpha 3, you don't want to consider me your dungeon master. I've got a number of different drops that I'm going to be dropping on different days for you guys. I'm going to start the drops at 3 p.m. UTC. It can take like a couple of hours for those to actually be delivered. So that's kind of out of my control other than pressing go and hope that it lands at the right time. But from Saturday onwards, there will be a drop during the alpha experience. So you can see we go live at 3 p.m. UTC on Wednesday the 3rd. We close on Friday the 12th at 3 p.m. UTC for the final alpha. On the Saturday, there's going to be 2,000 energy and 3 million gold delivered to your accounts. I will try not to steal your resources this time round. I will try and just give them to you. On the Sunday, we're going to give you 2 million energy, 3 million in gold, and then 5-star spirits to really help you like push your accounts along and get yourself that 6-star hero in the mix. On the Monday, you're going to get 2k energy and 3 million in gold. On the Tuesday, 2k energy and 3 million in XP, just to try and help you develop some more heroes. On the Wednesday, 2k energy, 5 million in gold, and then another 5-star spirits to try and help you to another 6-star as you push towards the end of the tower or the caverns. And then on the Thursday, the final drop will be 2k in energy, 5 million in gold, and then 3 million in XP. So I guess look out for those drops, look out for those rewards to help you fight your way through the caverns. So in order to monitor the progress of the Scions during Alpha 3, we're actually going to launch the Godforge website. You're going to want to bookmark this website. So firstly, it's going to be where the leaderboards are held for Alpha 3 for the community event and the reward event. And there's also going to be some cool stuff that comes from this website in between the alpha and the beta, which you are absolutely going to want to be involved in, including some like cool mini games, including some pre-registration rewards, all that type of stuff. So that will go live at the same time that the Alpha 3 goes live. We'll link that in the Discord when it's ready. So this is probably the bit that most of you are here for. What is the community event and what are the rewards going to be in the final wave of alpha? So here we are. I mean, it's been a long time coming, honestly. It's very, very cool. We're not doing like cash prizes or entry fees or anything like that. It's more about bragging rights and a thank you to everybody who has participated so far. You really helped us move the game on as we move towards our beta and then our launch. So if you are one of the lucky people that is rewarded with a trip to Las Vegas, I'll go through some of the info on that in a second. You will need to be at least 21 years old and you will need to be eligible to travel. Yeah, these are not prizes, but a way of saying thank you to the great Godforge community. So as you're grinding your way down the caverns, you know, your feedback on gameplay, your feedback in terms of bugs is still really important and really helpful to us. So let's talk about the major honors then, the major bragging rights. So the team, the squad that deals the most damage to Fafnir on floor 151 will have a reward that their team will be immortalized in a Squidmar miniature, which isn't that miniature, honestly, which will be their team fighting Fafnir in the caverns. We've already had a sketch of how this is going to look. Honestly, it looks badass already, just in a sketch. But that will be permanently displayed in Verko's vault. And the group that go out to Las Vegas will get to see the unveiling of this diorama in Verko's vault, as well as some other cool stuff as well. Those 7 players, those 7 scions will get to be involved in a masterclass painting event as well, where you get to take away a miniature on the day. Literally world famous painters supporting us with this. The top 5 players on the Fafnir damage leaderboard will have their username engraved into the diorama itself. And the top 100 players on the Fafnir damage leaderboard will go into the base, into like the bust of the diorama as well. So pretty cool honors to be had there. Anyone who plays in the alpha at all will get themselves an exclusive Caverns portrait frame, which will never be given away again. So you're going to be one of those like early bird players that can basically give bragging rights to that. Anyone who plays every day of the final wave will receive 1,000 rubies on the launch account, so you'll be able to use that as you get involved with the actual launch of the game. So let's talk about Fafnir's Bane. The first 1,000 players that defeats Fafnir on stage 151 will get an exclusive Godforge medal. We've had these minted specifically for this event and as a reward for the players that push themselves in this game. So you would get the exclusive in-game title as well as Fafnir's Bane. Super cool, actually. Like, I mean, yeah, these just look quality. They're weighty. They're going to come to you in this nice packaging, and I think this is one of the best rewards we're actually giving out personally. Also, there'll be a credit to anyone who completes the tower and attacks Fafnir on 151. So your name will go in the official game credits. So let's talk about the Vegas Invitationals, the Secret 7, the conquerors of Fafnir and the Alpha. So we're going to have 7 different invites for our scions in terms of coming to an event in Vegas. It's likely to be alongside the 3rd anniversary of Fateless, which will be towards the end of April, beginning of May. There will be different ways to achieve this. So firstly, the first 2 players that beat Fafnir 151, so basically deal any damage to Fafnir 151, will be invited. There'll also be the 2 destroyers. So these will be the 2 players that do the most damage to Fafnir by the end of the alpha on the leaderboards. So 1st and 2nd place there. 1st place obviously will also have their team battling Fafnir on the diorama. We've then got the explorers. So the first 2 players to complete all challenge stars, or the 2 players that complete the most challenge stars. We've made a bit of a change to what we had originally planned. Originally, there was going to be a multiplier of your damage against the number of stars you collected. That's changed. Now it's literally going to be damage is one element, which is the destroyers, and then stars is a separate element, which is the explorers. People enjoy the game in different ways. We want to make sure that we support both ways. And then the final invite is going to go to the lucky. So this is going to be an invite for 1 player. It can be anybody in the whole event that plays every day and basically plays at least 1 cavern level every single day. Anyone who does that will go into the pot, and it'll be a pull at random to see who the lucky invite is going to be. Everybody that we invite along will get the masterclass at Verko's vault, where we take a legendary painter of a miniature. Basically, they'll teach us whilst we're painting some of the different styles. We'll paint our own miniature to take away. The Fateless team will be involved in that as well. Verko's vault is basically now world renowned for doing this. Quality artists come to these masterclass events and they experience the Verko's vault treatment in terms of sharing knowledge, in terms of delivering amazing miniatures. And now basically the team at Verko's vault are some of the best painters and sculptors in the world, which is super sweet actually. Just a couple of notes here. If somebody actually qualifies for like 2 of these different elements, then you'll receive 1 invite, and then the next invite will go down to the next person in the mix. And that will all be decided by the senior team at Fateless. So with any type of community event, one of the kind of like key fundamentals of us as a team is that we want to see fair play. If anything feels dodgy, we will investigate it, and we will remove people that we deem to be cheating or doing things unfairly. There will be some bugs still in this alpha. For example, there might be a hero that is doing something unusual that we didn't intend it to do. Because everyone will have access to that same hero, that just deemed as fair play in this situation. But we really want for this to be a fun community event where everyone comes together and basically explores the game even further and basically has some fun. Jump in, slay Fafnir, and remember, you're becoming part of the Godforge history. Just want to say as well that we're looking to do a live event whilst we're in Vegas, where we will invite the audience of players, if they want to, at their own expense, to come and get involved in some of the stuff we're going to be doing in Vegas. So I guess keep an eye on Discord for that, but that won't come until nearer the time. As I say, we're looking to do that event close to the anniversary of Fateless. Right then, onto some patch notes for Alpha Wave 3. I just want to call out as well, we've had a number of different content creators covering Godforge over the experience of the different alphas. They're doing things like covering the patch notes ahead of me, and they're doing a phenomenal job. It's brilliant to see different content creators hitting their different landmarks of number of subscribers, watch time. So please continue to support those guys. They're basically going to be the group that keep this game alive as we move into a beta stage and beyond. So I appreciate all the work those guys are doing. Make sure you go into our Discord and check out the community videos and resources regularly, because they're always uploading content about how to best beat this beast of a game. Let's go through some of the different patch notes then. So we've seen some things which are just fundamentally broken with the way we designed the game or built the game. And then we've also seen some things which we needed to rebalance. They're not like huge changes, but there are some pretty sizable changes which will, I guess, improve the feel for this wave, similar to how we went from wave 1 to 2. So bleeds, blazes, pretty much anything which is a dot was incorrectly doing damage. So instead of a 75% reduction of damage for any bosses, they were actually doing 100% damage. And there was also an element where bleeds could just stack infinitely, which was not correct. It was meant to cap out at 10. So those two things have been fixed, which means that certainly against bosses, some of those heroes that were just doing insane levels of damage will now just be doing high levels of damage, which is what it should be doing. There's been a load of changes around divinity. So heroes, for example, that had passives that might gain divinity from everybody doing an action, we've decided to change some of those passives now so that it's only their own action. An example of this would be Aphrodite. She was getting divinity whenever a buff was placed anywhere, which was insane. She was basically having infinite ults. We don't want that in the game. So she now gets divinity when she places buffs. Similar with someone like Shamash. So Shamash was gaining divinity when anybody joined an ally attack, and we had a number of strong ally attack heroes in the game. Now he will just gain divinity when he is causing an ally to join an attack. So it's based on him doing an ability rather than anybody doing an ability in the game. So a few things like that where divinity generation was just off the charts, we've changed. We've also looked at just rebalancing some heroes to make sure that they're not just like completely insane. And that will then come down into their imprints as well. There's a number of weapons which the stacking of the weapon was just causing an imbalance. So we've just changed some of the different bonuses of those. One of the weapons to call out, so I know it was very widely used, is Heka. So Heka, we've actually made a tweak to. Instead of converting HP into attack, we're actually converting attack into HP. The reason for that is because HP is such a lofty number in builds. It can be pretty much exploited, and it was being exploited so that everybody was super tanky and they were doing high damage. Now, and it basically meant that brawlers really were the only damage dealer worth taking as long as they had a Heka. So we flipped the number to just make it more in line with an epic level weapon, but it's still strong. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of changes in terms of heroes and weapons. So I guess explore the alpha as you go through. There's also a number of rebalances in terms of where damage is done. So Achilles and Dracula now will do the high levels of damage when they rip bleeds off enemies and their own team. So that's going to be improved. We have got a count now on the hero roster. So you can see here, I've got 67 out of 150 heroes on my account. When you go over 150, your heroes that you farm will actually turn into imprints. So if you're close to 150 and you don't want that to happen, but certainly if you're at the higher end of the caverns, you're going to want to either convert some of your lower level heroes into spirits with the unbinding, or you're going to want to just like level some dudes up and make some more space. But or you might want to decide which imprints you're actually going to want to create yourself with the extraction, and go ahead and extract some of the different rares and epics into imprints as you get further into the game. So number of ways you can create that space yourself, but as soon as you go over 150, any hero that you gained, rare or above, will become an imprint, and any hero that you gain, uncommon or common, will become a spirit. Okay, we've also updated the battle UI, so we've added in turn count timer and a wave piece of information. This is one of the strongest kind of elements that we had in terms of UI, for the alpha experience so far. And you can see in the top left here now, you'll be able to see what wave you're on, what turn count it is, and how long you've actually been in the fight. We've also added in the in the caverns, a star count as well, so you can see how many of the 300 stars you have collected along the way. We've also tweaked Dagonet's passive. So beforehand, it was just super overpowered, honestly, and we might reapply this passive to a legendary hero for launch, but for now, this one's coming out of the alpha. So instead of doing an ally attack when an enemy is below half health, you're now going to get turn meter increase as you're placing debuffs. Still pretty strong in the right situation if you've got somebody who's placing a lot of debuffs on enemies and friends and allies, but yeah, not quite as insane as it was. Shamash is now going to be placing shield on his overheals instead of barrier, so we're not getting that infinite barrier spam. We've also got Fafnir changes. So Fafnir will now ignore immortal, shields and barriers, and ward after 20 casts of Fafnir's ultimate. Probably the biggest change for this wave for the events and for the reward factor is that Fafnir 151 will end after 500 turns. And I actually think this is super interesting because what it does is it creates the push for how do I do the most damage in the time that I've got, rather than how do I create a team that just lasts for hours and hours. I've tested this a number of times. We tried to get the 500 turn count to be about 20 to 25 minutes of gameplay. But you might also find a team that does more damage in a shorter period of time and doesn't even care about trying to land 500 turns. You just do like hella damage. So I'm going to be really interested to see the different mixes of heroes that start to come in to make this work. But super fun, and that's going to be what one of the sort of main events is based around. We've also increased Fafnir and the Golden Guardian stats in the higher stages. We've done a bit of change around the economy. And what I would call out here is, I played the Alpha 1 and 2 all the way through to beat 151. So did a good chunk of our team. Okay, certainly the team that understand this genre extremely well. Everybody in the team played the game, by the way. But the people that understand this genre really well, we played it alongside you guys, and that's how we're able to make economy updates. We're listening to what the player base is saying, and we're also experiencing it ourselves. Okay, so things like, I felt like epics were just almost breezed past in the first couple of alphas. So we're going to have the epic drop rate increase from stage 60 to 120 to try and create that mid game where epics boost your power. Some of the legendary drop rates in those same zones are reduced, but they're increased as you go past 120. So that's the kind of counterbalance there. I also felt like gear didn't have a big enough impact until right at the end. So actually we're improving the drop rates basically from level 60 up. So you're gonna have better farm points and better drops of gear much earlier to try and make the gear be more impactful rather than it just being, did I get a legendary hero? So this is a big change. We're going to change the pool of available epics and legendaries from stage 20 and 30. We just think that's a lot of fun. We've also added a level where you can just farm. If I can show you here, I can't. You can just farm stage 125 if you want to get yourself eternal alchemy stones, which means basically the Eternals, which is what most people found hardest to farm alchemy stones for. That's going to be available on stage 125 only. We've also got a bunch of fixes in terms of bugs. Honestly, if we did the full list, it's tons, right? We've done a lot of work in the last 2 weeks or so. So changes to leaderboards, that should now work 100%. Changes to the star count also should now be 100%. We tested it a bunch. We're really confident that that's now working right. We changed some of the AI behavior to heroes. Not like a wholesale change. You're not going to suddenly see, everybody holding their ultimate for the optimal time or anything like that. But just some tweaks to make sure that AIs make a bit more sense. Things like reviving, if there's someone to revive rather than just wasting a skill and stuff like that. We fixed a number of issues relating to using ultimates on star challenges to make sure that they count. We fixed a lot of issues with armor sets. Plenty of armor sets were not doing everything as intended. That's now fixed. We fixed Shishi specifically around barriers. Shishi was doing barriers to the whole team when in the skill it was only meant to be to himself. So that was a major bug, which is now improved. And then we've also fixed an issue with shield and barriers where they're actually generating the shield and barrier way beyond what they were meant to do. So that's been improved. Fixed an issue where boss would not reduce the damage from the bleed, the blaze, and the acid, the dots. We have fixed an issue where you could skip a turn after selecting a certain passive or imprint. Basically, it would just like halt and then it would just skip that person's turn. We've updated some of the localization and improved some of the errors. And then we've also fixed an issue that would cause so if you were trying to promote a hero and your gold was kind of like close but not quite right, it would let you do it, take the stuff, and then realize it was wrong, and it would say, oh no, this was incorrect, and it would take a while to get your stuff back. So that should all be resolved as well. That's basically it for the patch notes. Lots going on there. Whew, if you're still with me, I'm just going to show you now how I'm going to remove the old Godforge on my PC. This will work for Mac as well. I'm actually using a program here called Tree Size. It's a free program, which I shared in Discord recently. But what this does is it will scan your drive and allow you to remove files. What we've realized is that for Godforge, whenever you downloaded an update, you're actually downloading basically the full game again, which was massively bloating out your drive. So if you're someone who's been doing that, you're going to want to check this out. You basically want to go into your app data, into your local drive for the user where you've got it downloaded. So you can see here, I'm in the path of users, Simon, app data, local. Then I find Godforge and I find games. And I can see that I've actually got the initial install at like 7.8 gig. But then every time we did an update, there's like an extra 5 gig of updates. Okay, so it's bloated my drive out. I'm actually going to delete all of Godforge from my drive. And then we're going to download a fresh install along with the new wave. So I would advise anybody that's been playing during Alpha 1 or 2 to do this, to make sure that you basically remove all of this bloat from your C drive, and the launcher is actually fixed now in line with what we want it to do. At least we believe it is, but I guess let's hope so. By the way, this little file is a free program. You don't need to use this. You can just go in and find that same file in your Explorer if you want to. But I did find that I was able to basically clear out a bunch of stuff that I didn't realize was still on my drive. So it is actually a really good little program if you want to try and improve your drive space. But anyway, that's going to be it for today. Woo, long one today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you subscribe to this channel Please, we're close to 100,000 subscribers. We'd love to get there as soon as possible. So yeah, I've been Simon from Fateless. I'll see you soon.